Yeah. So one thing I forgot to mention, the last form of dawah, which I think has been the most effective, um, though could be strengthened with our approach, um, is following the Sunnah, embodying the manners of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his companions, which is by far the most effective way in giving dawah up to this point. Every non-Muslim that I know that used to hate Muslims, but now they don't have any hatred, or at least went from a -100 to a -50. They said that like I used to hate Muslims, but then I met them and saw their manners and how generous they were, and how kind they were, and that changed my opinion about Islam. So my message to the Muslim community is don't give up on that, and that's the best way, and you are making a difference. Like my sphere of non-Muslims that they tell me this personally. So what the actions that you do, they do have a very positive effect, and who knows what kind of domino effect that can create in a positive way. But let's get to our addition to what we think is missing from the Dawa in the West, and that is European Muslim sub-communities. And this is basically allowing European descendant converts to collectivize and create their own sub-community based on their sphere, and become part of the greater ummah, where we're still interacting with the rest of the Muslim community. But just like the Somali sub-community, the Pakistani sub-community, the Arab sub-community, we have our own sub-community that offers our own cultural flavor to Islam. So this will have very positive effects in reducing Islamophobia. One is that the convert sphere of family and community are more likely to open up because they're going to be surrounded by other European descendant converts from the same background. So they'll be more likely to talk to them and be around them and ask the tough questions to them. And there's a much better shot that they'll be able to even come to one of our events. Okay. Another aspect is that the tough subjects, can be discussed more dispassionately, because we have less of a direct association with, both things that have gone on in the Muslim world, Islamophobia, and on the other side, how Europeans feel about things like Islamic slavery and things like that. So it just undercuts and cuts through this whole 1300-year conflict between Islam and the West. And it's not to say that born Muslims don't do a great job in discussing those issues. It's just that we can sometimes discuss these things a little bit more dispassionately. All things being equal, I know this sounds kind of petty. Basically, your white Islamophobic father or mother is going to be more willing to talk to other white converts than first generation Muslims generally. That's not always the case, but it just goes without saying that people just feel more comfortable around their own people from the same background. So and that's not true all the time, but it's always good to have that in your back pocket, that other Muslims from the same background, and being able to collectivize. You're going to meet a lot more of these people, and hopefully they'll be able to give proper guidance on these matters. Another reason why this may reduce Islamophobia is that Islam won't be seen as racially exclusive or predatory anymore. If they see a European Muslim sub-community growing from the ground up, with families and European Muslim kids, they will see that Islam isn't here to take over the West. That it's not, it separates it from the whole argument of demographic change, and it shows that the Muslims really do care about the people in the West and them preserving their culture and identity. Okay. So it completely turns it from the idea that Islam is a net negative in terms of preserving the West into a net positive. And as we know, Muslim families are more likely to have children than non-Muslim families. So yeah, that's another reason why it would help out. It would also reduce a lot of cultural and language barriers. Going to an event with European descendant Muslims, we would have our own food, the food that we're used to, our own games that we're used to, so like darts, cornhole, pool, ping pong, and things like that, where our families just feel more comfortable, in that type of environment, as opposed to, say, going to a mosque that's heavily Pakistani, where they don't engage in those kinds of things. Also, another way this can reduce Islamophobia is that you're reaching people that wouldn't normally come to an open house or a dawah booth. So as I stated before, a lot of non-Muslims are very reluctant to go to a mosque in the first place, even if their image about Islam is positive or neutral. Same thing with the dawah booth. And by supporting the convert and their sphere and community that they're around, you can reach people that would never, think about coming to a mosque or a dawah booth. Another is that, sorry, my cat was disturbing me. So another is that, if you're marrying another European descendant convert, they're going to be much easier culturally, and the families are going to be more likely to get along. Even though they're not Muslim, they still have maintaining the same culture, and they might be more likely, and they'll be able to see that their son and their daughter-in-law, or their daughter and their son-in-law, are in a happy Islamic marriage, and without saying a word, you can hopefully, inshallah, change their hearts. And just the other thing is that a lot of these European clubs are going to be hopefully more likely to open their doors to us. Even if they might not really like Islam, they'll see that, they might have host one of our weddings and things like that. Churches might be maybe more likely to open their doors to us, and basically a lot of these European clubs are really dying out, especially in Canada. Like you see the Scottish club and the English club and the Portuguese club, and they're really just dying in numbers. Their kids aren't going there anymore. So this may be able to reinvigorate them and hopefully save their business in the meantime. And that way we can reach these people that wouldn't normally be around Muslim spheres. Okay. So those are just some of the benefits of having European Muslim sub-communities and the ways it can actually reduce Islamophobia. It won't completely get rid of it. As I said, there's always going to be people that don't like us. But, this is a struggle that we have to take on ourselves because it's important, to the greater Muslim community. I mean, this should be our responsibility. I mean, it's not just about being exclusive. It's that, we always wanted to show how Islam made us into better human beings for the betterment of the whole Muslim society, because we know these are people that we grew up with. These are our own flesh and blood. And this is our great opportunity to be able to talk to them. So just as a final note, just giving dawah in general, I would say that actions speak louder than words. Verbal interactions can only go so far. You can talk on and on about, the Quran and the Sunnah and the Hadith, but a lot of the times, a lot of Muslims will just get annoyed by it. And, by showing that we're actually better human beings, by embodying the manners of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and changing for the better, that's really what's going to change their hearts about Islam. Not memorizing, as much Quran as possible. Although it's very important, it's not the only thing about giving dawah. I mean, you have to be on, a really good moral character, and I think, we have an opportunity to show them firsthand because we're going to be around them all the time. Okay. So I mean, that's pretty much about it. And finally, as I stated before about born Muslims coming to the West, actually seeing, a group of white Muslims, that's going to allay their fears and make them feel more comfortable around white people, hopefully. So, they'll be able to, feel more comfortable, with the greater society in general. Just on a final note, this doesn't just go for European descendant converts, but also any group of indigenous peoples in the West. Like you take a look at First Nations peoples and Native Americans. They should keep their identity as well when they become Muslim and start forming their own sub-communities as well. And that way they can help give dawah to their nations as well. So this doesn't just go for European descendant Muslims, but any non-Muslim society in which Muslims are a minority there. Whether that's Mexico or Japan or Peru, the local converts should be keeping their own culture. So that's it. That's all I have to say for now. Just leave your comments in the comments section. Reason number 9, reducing Islamophobia. Very important aspect of European Muslim sub-communities that has been missing and lacking. And I think by implementing this, even in a small amount, we can do a lot of good, not just for the greater Muslim community, but also for converts themselves and also their families and extended community. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.